Audio commentary.
Problem solved.
That's right, you found yourself another audio commentary. This is the third one for the 15th anniversary of Noah Antwiler being on YouTube, and I am still Stryker of Enyo. This last commentary is going to cover all of the trailers / music videos / tribute videos that I did for this 15th anniversary. And this audio commentary is going to be a little bit longer than what the actual length of the videos themselves are, because we're going to be going into the creative process that I went through in order to create some of this stuff, like the Oreo Antwiler video and where the origination of that came from, along with the end credit sequence with the Little Richard song. We're going to be going into more detail with those and how I kind of developed the idea throughout the year in order to kind of create these videos. So I thought that'd be a little interesting. If it's not, hey, minimize it, set it off to the side, and just enjoy my voice for a little bit. I have a few clips of the Spoony one that are going to be playing in the background while I'm explaining a few things, but for the most part, we're going to be rewatching those trailers or tribute videos over and over again as I get out some of the details. So, hey, sit back, here we go. But just wait, before you actually sit back and we actually go, I need to do a little bit of backstory, and then we will jump into it. But I made an update on my channel saying that I would be able to get all these videos, the trailers and music videos, done in a week. And I thought it would be done actually in like 3 days, easy. I got the first 2 of these additional videos done in a day. The third one was the supervillain music video. It took me 2 days, 1 day to edit the video to the song itself, which was 5.5 minutes long, and another day to edit the 4 additional minutes to it. But the See You Again tribute video for Little Oreo, that took 3 days to edit by itself, and it was only 3 minutes long. To be fair, I added this video right after I made the short tribute to Oreo at the end of the Top 5 Counter Monkey episodes video. I originally only had 3 short videos to do, and I figured, yeah, I mean, I'll have that done in like 3 days. And if it wasn't for this other one, it would have been done a little sooner. But we'll get to that when it comes up.
Oh good, a strange man bursts into my room and he's a Highlander freak. I'm officially terrified.
Let's go.
Kept you waiting, huh?
So this is the introduction to the Noah Antwiler 15th Anniversary Collection trailer. This was basically a promotional piece that I was going to put on my channel itself. So new subscribers and even longtime subscribers were going to go to my channel. And this is the first thing that you would see because, well, it was the most recent thing that I had made. So I really thought that, hey, I needed something that would grab your attention and let you know that, yes, I am the guy that made the top 25 videos of Noah Antwiler, and here's some other stuff that I hopefully you would enjoy to also watch that I made around the same time. So that's all it is. This is actually only one of 2 videos that I couldn't put ads on. Or no, I'm sorry, one of the only 2 videos I could put ads on, but I didn't. This is already an ad in itself, right? It was going to be on my main channel, so I figured, I didn't want to put an ad on this. I didn't want the first thing to play, when you come to my channel as a ad, just a regular ad for YouTube. So I took ads off of this, and I wanted to make sure that, if you came here for just one of my Noah Antwiler videos, that you'd at least know that there's other stuff out there. That's it. That's really all it was. I figured I would be the best one to promote my own stuff because I know me, right? I know what I am. And of the main 25 videos that I had for the top 25 videos of Noah Antwiler, I actually had like 2 or 3 different versions to pick from for each one of those. So like I was trying to find the best quality version, so I just threw them all in there and figured I'd find it out later. I had a folder with 120 additional videos. That's right. Not just an additional 40 videos like I think I was saying before, because that's what I kind of thought. But no, I had a folder that had 120 videos of Noah, and that it only included like maybe about 6 or 7 Counter Monkey episodes. Otherwise, everything else was, you know, all sorts of other stuff. And that folder didn't include any of the Let's Plays or the Final Fantasy videos or the Red Brown stuff or the FMV Hell videos. All of those had their own separate folders. So, you know, I had all of the Let's Plays and Final Fantasy Red Brown stuff, and then I had an additional 120 videos of Spoonies on top of that. So this was a folder of, sorry, I'm going on a little bit longer than the actual video, but this is going to happen. It was 72 gigs of files total, with an additional 13 gigs of data used for the other videos, included like all the recorded audio, but not the multiple takes. If I, like, for instance, this is actually the third time I'm recording all the audio commentaries. That's right, I had 2 previous versions that I completely threw out because I didn't think they were good enough, or I went on rambling about something that you guys didn't need to know, and I basically just binned the whole video for that. So, yeah, this is the third time I'm recording the audio commentary, and that doesn't include additional audio, but yeah, so, like, all together, this really is about 85, what was I saying, about 85, 86 gigs of data altogether, but it's like 72 gigs of Spoonie's videos, you know, and some images and whatnot. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff, but hey, let's take a look at the next video, which is the end credit sequence. So here we go.
Eat this, mother! Oh, come on! Linger on it a little. That was Phantasmagoria levels of cool.
Killed with a shovel, Frank. It seems our white ghost is making sure the bad guys don't have any children because he just got this one spayed.
So this is the famous end credit sequence that I made. This is going to actually play in the background probably a couple of times because we got a lot of stuff to go through, and I can't do it in just the amount of time. This was a lot of work. This was an idea that I obviously had kind of in tune with from the movie Clue. You know, in the movie Clue, you had Shake, Rattle, and Roll play during the end credits for that, and that's what Spoony used to kind of make his end credit sequence for, what was it, Phantasmagoria, you know, Phantasmagoria 2. So I had this whole idea, you know, that the kick-ass phone call was going to kick it all off, because I really like this footage. You know, it's some additional footage of Spoony that most people probably didn't really watch. They probably didn't really, you know, watch the, what do you call it, the anniversary videos for that guy with the glasses. So that was from, I think, the Final Fantasy 13 review. I extended the talking just a little bit. I made a few little tweaks to this. I changed a couple of the titles, like April's title at the end. I just kept it to 1. But yeah, so this was, I'm trying to find my notes. I know, it's pretty exciting, right? I'm trying to find my notes while it actually plays in the background. So yeah, the song itself is Little Richard. It's All Around the World from 1958. But like, you know, I am specifically parodying the end credit sequence to the movie Red Scorpion from 1988 with Dolph Lundgren. So, but like, none of this fancy stuff is actually at the end of that movie. All the movie does is one guy laughs, you know, F&A, and then the music starts, and it goes to black, and then the credits roll. It's just your average credits, you know, white on black lettering. But you know, I envisioned it being, you know, the Ed Glazer, you know, the freeze frames with the spiraling color in the background, and you know, their names popping up. You know, I envisioned it being kind of like that. You know, you know, they're called what is it? Character portrait freeze frames. You know, Richard Garriott. I know I wanted to put him in there too. So I had this idea to use this, and the music is basically, it's kind of what you hear, you know, it's the song, and then it has like gunfire and explosions, you know, in the background that play while the credits are rolling. and that was it. It was just audio. There was no character portraits or anything like that. Like that's all it was. So, I'm the one that added the freeze frame stuff, and ultimately, I found out that I couldn't use the original audio from the movie. And there's good old Bennett White. Almost took his shirt off. That's actually from the blooper video that this is from. This is actually the blooper version of the video. Here is the added content. I always wanted to include that. But, after the music ends and the chopper sound effect goes by, I just couldn't. And the whole Mako thing, I wanted to have that in there too, but before you know it, the music video is only, the song itself is only 2.5 minutes long. There's not much time. So, but like I was saying, ultimately I couldn't use the original audio from the movie. It was an older recording that they used for the movie, and the music itself, it sounded a little muffled. And I also quickly realized that I would need to replace all the sound effects. Obviously. And you might be thinking like, well, why couldn't you just use it the way it was? And well, the thing is that, it would be very hard to match up the video segments that I had made or that I was going to be making to match them up to the sound effects in the song to be exactly. And also, hang on. All right, the video's restarting here. But, so yeah, I didn't have control of the volume of the music and the effects at the same time. If I did it that way, if I completely redid it, then I could control how loud I wanted the sound effects to be. I could control when the sound effects were going to come in. So it ultimately gave me a lot more control. And honestly, I used a remastered version of the song and it sounded a whole lot better. There was a newer version of the song, but I didn't care for that one at all. So I automatically, I threw that out. But so I took a newly remastered audio version of the song, and then I added several similar sounding effects at certain places in order to make it sound close to the way the original was done. Like this mortar effect that is right at the beginning, like that is almost in tune with what is used in the real song. And then there's also like this explosion here, like that's actually also, there's an explosion. It might not be the exact same explosion, but that's exactly how it is in the original. And this AK sound effect, this is almost exactly where it should be in the original. So now after this, there's, maybe a couple of mortar strikes or a helicopter that's used once or twice. So if you haven't watched Red Scorpion, especially the end credit sequence itself, in like 10 years, it's going to sound familiar enough that you're going to think that it is the original song. But no, I really did have to tinker with it. But you see, like that little moment there while I had the music swell up and you could hear Little Richard, like I wouldn't be able to do that with the original, and I wouldn't be able to control how loud the sound effects were. I added several sound effects at certain times to make it close to the way the original, was, so that if you hadn't seen it in a while, it would sound pretty close. So it honestly gave me more freedom. It was more work. It was more work definitely to do it this way, but it was so much more satisfying to, like I want to have the freeze frame on Brad right here. I want to have, a certain sound effect and I can use it and I'm not hampered by, what the original music did. And the end credits sequence here has 12 freeze frame character portraits total. I made 3 additional ones that I didn't use. One was Angry Joe, one was Spoony, the Lord of Tekken version, and one was the GD Avatar. And I wanted to put more in there. I really did, but the song is only 2.5 minutes long. Like that's the whole song, including a little interlude kind of thing in the middle. And each of the freeze frames was going to be about 3 to 4 seconds, long at first. So, 10 of those was going to equal 30 seconds of the song. So that was going to eat up a lot of time just on the freeze frame. Originally, I think I wanted the freeze frames to actually be 4 seconds long, but I think I had to cut that down to almost 2 seconds, 2 or 3 each, because 30. I couldn't have it eat up like 40 seconds of the overall music video of just having the freeze frames, I guess. So yeah, certain characters had longer intros. So how did I determine the order? Well, originally I arranged them alphabetically, but I always wanted Doug to be first and then Linkara, since they were featured in a lot more videos. So alphabetically was the safe bet, but certain characters favored having room for the words on their left or right. So that's how I arranged them, is whether they had space on the left or right for me to put the words. So I arranged them so that it would always go in the pattern of left, right, left, right, left, right. So, somebody would pop up and the words would be on the left side of the screen. Then the next person that pops up, his words are going to be on the right side of the screen. When you watch it over and over again, I know you don't necessarily think of that. But, if I had all the words of 4 people in a row appearing on the right side, and then I would switch to the left side for some reason, I always thought maybe it would be a little bit jarring. So, I tried to order it up, and then I needed to adjust slightly depending on the length of their intro. Like Doug here, his words are on the right. So like the next person should be on the left, which, hey, it's Linkara, and he happens to be on the right side of the frame. So, I have room to put the words on the left for him. So, like James Rolfe, he should have actually been later on, but the song allowed a certain place for me to add some sound effects without them being on top of lyrics. So Rolfe had the right length that matched the area. So everyone else is kind of alphabetical except for him, because he had a shorter clip that I could squeeze him in there. So he got moved up a few places. In the end, I believe I had 2 words on the right in a row. I don't think it's too distracting. I don't think you really notice it. Hopefully you're having too much fun. I did originally have planned to have a lot more people. I was going to have Chuckles the effing Jester from the Ultima 6 review. I was going to have the Gate Cleaner. I was going to have Turl. I was going to have Son of Insano have his own thing. Spencer D. Bum was going to be in there. And, of course, Burton and Oreo as well. But, once I kind of got into it, I realized I only got room for like 12. I mean, seriously, maybe I could cut one in half, split it up and throw in an extra one, during this little, music section where there's, no spoken words in the song. But Richard Gere, his little clip, actually, it lasted a little bit, right? I need almost 20 seconds for him to talk, and get to the joke, and for him to get to the point when we see him. Brad Jones was actually pretty quick, we could get to him, fairly quickly. But yeah, I had more characters, but there came a point when I realized that I wanted to, since I was limited to the amount of people that I could actually use, I wanted to feature the ones that had actually worked with Spoony. So, and I know Angry Joe did, but quite honestly, Angry Joe didn't give me a whole lot of really good clips to take from his videos. And, I was trying to throw in everybody that I could. So I hope it worked. I would have liked to get them all in there, but, I wanted to feature the real life people. I didn't need to have, 4 different versions of Spoony in there, and that's why I cut out Burton and Oreo. And ultimately, that was the reason that I made the Oreo tribute video, because I had the footage, I had it in this document that I was going to use for the freeze frame for little Oreo, but I only had 12 spots, and I already had Dr. Insano. So Dr. Insano is, relatively popular, but even Spoony has said that the fans, they don't want to see him too much. There is such a thing as too much Insano. So I think he had actually been hearing about some backlash about Insano at the time. So, he used him just every little once in a while. And I figured out of all the characters that Spoony had created, I figured, Dr. Insano was the one most likely to be featured, so I used him. But yeah, I had to cut out Oreo. So, but because I cut Oreo from this video, I ended up making the tribute video. So, in the end, it worked out. You know, that's just one of those things in the editing process that, you know, it happens. It sucks, but, you know. And I also had to trim these intros quite severely to get them. Like the part with James Rolfe. Like, I trimmed that up quite a bit. I mean, you only see, you know, you see him stab the robot, and then the robot falls over, and that's like half a second long, you know, just to get to the point of, you know, the video. And like, this is trimmed out heavily. Like, the first person to call him, oh my gosh, it's been so long I can't remember. I think Nostalgia Chick is the first one to call him back, and then Angry Joe calls him back. So like, there's other people in there, and then Spoony calls, but I cut to Spoony. You know, I make it seem like he's the first one to call, but that's not the case. So yeah, you know, sometimes I had to trim this stuff down, and like, I couldn't find a version of Linkara that didn't have the side of the laptop on top of him. It looks okay. You know, Miles Antwiler did a lot of stuff. I wanted to, you know, him to be in this one because he did help out his brother quite a bit in these videos. See, I think I switched Dr. Insano from a left to a right, so I had him slide to the left kind of fast. This is the best audio that I could get from this video. It was an older video. You know, this was the outtake video as well. See, like, there's the segment, like, I stab him, he falls over quick. Like, that was like 3 times as long in the original. The name Dr. F Face is actually originally what James Rolfe wanted to be called in the video. Spoony talks about it in his audio commentary for that video, but he said, no, I can't call you that. So it's like, I actually honored James Rolfe his original idea to what to be called. That's Ed Glazer. He had he done quite a bit of stuff. He's also did I think they're called the Press Start movies. He did like part 1 and part 2. You know, like fan-made video game-based movies that, you know, they're cheap, but he actually, I believe, has a really good eye for, you know, what needs to be included and what doesn't. The Richard Garriott conversation, that was always going to be there. I wanted to include this video, The Human Spider, in some way. It's one of those smaller videos, but I really like the fact that Brad Jones is just a Human Spider number 2. He's not good enough to be number 1 or well known enough. I thought that was a little funny too. And here I changed it to just the Black Squire. She also was credited as Set Armorer, which is a real credit that she got for the Ultima 9 review, but it just didn't work. Or I was trying to make it, you know, short. I think I turned up their audio on the laughter a little bit. So I made little tweaks to this. But the helicopter that passes by at the end, like, that's what originally happens in the original All Around the World song. So hopefully I was trying to hit the main beats so that you would think it's the exact same thing. But yeah, this was, it was a lot of work, but this was one of the highlights. Like, I had to set up a lot of footage. I was taking clips, you know, from all sorts of his videos. You know, I was going to originally have, you know, Spoony from the betrayal part of the video. Like, I was going to have the shock on his face. Like, that was going to be what I was going to cut out. Originally, what I ended up using is actually a clip from the top 5 things I hate about Star Trek Online that he did with Spoony. You know, like, that's what I ultimately used because I was trying to cut that footage together in order to fit into, you know, a predetermined place in this video, but it just didn't work. It would have been too long, really. All right, so this is the Oreo Antwiler, the See You Again tribute trailer extended. I'm going to need to pause this one. There's way too much to talk about. You know, it was 3 days of editing alone to put this whole thing together, and it's only a 3-minute long video. You know, I think the first time I tried to render the video, it actually took like 10 hours, which was, I don't understand why I did it, because the next time I was going to do it. It only took like 2 hours. I think it was because of all the animation and stuff in there. Just give me a quick minute to run down a couple of things, then we're going to start watching the video. Like I was saying in the other part, I had some great footage of Oreo playing with Noah. And so I set it aside to use for the freeze frame character introductions for the Red Scorpion end credit sequence. But I didn't have the room. You know, the end credit sequence was going to have 12 freeze frame character portraits. And like I said, you know, the song was only 2.5 minutes. I just didn't have room. So then when I was nearly done with the top 5 Counter Monkey episodes video, I had this piece of footage from Thieves World episode with Oreo in it. And I mean, that was what I was originally going to use. I was editing the Counter Monkey montage segments at the end, and I thought, well, maybe I could sneak in a freeze frame intro to Oreo finally. But it would look silly if I did that, you know, with just one segment. So I thought, well, maybe I could throw in Burton the Robot and maybe, you know, a couple other versions of Spoony. You know, it wouldn't be any other additional people that had been in videos with Spoony himself. It would just be, you know, Oreo, Burton, and, you know, somebody else. But then, like, as I was thinking of it, I'm like, well, I'm just going to be repeating the other music video that I did, you know, and, you know, the Counter Monkey video was here to focus on moments from the Counter Monkey episodes, you know, not to throw in a bunch of references to a multitude of the other videos, which I've been doing all the way up to this point anyway. So then I thought, well, if I really want to do the freeze frame for Oreo, maybe I should just do it as a tribute for him only, no other characters. So I thought of a song to use, obviously, the See You Again from Wiz Khalifa. It just works, right? You know, when it's a pet or something, you know, instead of trying to use like love songs, you know, when a pet passes, which, you know, that can look kind of weird sometimes when other people do it. But it's like, yeah, you know, the Wiz Khalifa song, it worked well. It got the video claimed. I knew it was probably going to, but I wanted to do a thing that was nice for Oreo. You know, so I didn't care. I didn't think that many people were going to watch the Counter Monkey episode anyway. So now let's go ahead and start the Oreo Antwiler tribute video. Please forgive me, you probably will not hear the song. At least you will not hear it audibly too well, because I really had to turn down the volume on this because, surprisingly enough, even when I lowered the original volume by like 27 decibels, that was still enough for YouTube to claim it and content ID it so that I couldn't make money off of it. Not that I would make that much money off of an audio commentary, but, you know, it's nice to have some content that, you know, YouTube doesn't decide when to play ads on it.
His was the most human.
So when I originally completed that 1 minute long segment, you know, that was it. I didn't think I was immediately going to go back to it. But in my mind, I was already wanting to add more to it. I wanted to show the torpedo going down the rail, getting fired from the Enterprise, and the torpedo, you know, landing on the Genesis planet with a little short bark to let us know that he was alive again. But, you know, I didn't have time, but I just love this little part. Bow to the audience, fade to black. So that's where I originally stopped the other video. And, but it's because, like, if I was going to continue the song, that means I would have to, if I was going to continue the video, I would have to continue the song, and that there's this little bit more upbeat of a version, you know, and I'm like, well, where do I put the torpedo tube in? I can't fire him off to the Genesis planet before, you know, the other part is done. And, like, at the very moment that he's going to say, now you're going to be, you know, with me for the last ride, that's the exact moment I wanted the torpedo to fire. But yeah, so I spent, you know, I had all this stuff, and I literally had the footage of the torpedo being fired, you know, right next to that original 1 minute tribute video. And I'm like, you know, let me make this longer. Let me make it its own video. And then I had the idea of having all the other little clip art, you know, characters, all there celebrating, you know, this little puppy. And, in one way, it's really sweet. I'll get to that maybe later on. Let's get some more of that technical stuff out of the way. So I wanted to show all this additional stuff. I decided to make it longer. I was going to add the torpedo footage. I couldn't put the torpedo footage before the freeze frame shot, or else it looks like you fired off the little guy, but then you cut back to Spoony's chair. So I had to do it after. So I was like, trying to logically put this thing together instead of ending, right on the quiet verse like I did before. So yeah, I added a bit more to the freeze frame, like lowering the torpedo down. I knew I needed to make clear that Oreo was in the torpedo, so I added the little picture to him, Antwiler being on YouTube. More videos featuring Spoony are on my channel. Check the description for more.
I was looking for a new.
So yeah, I added the little picture and I angled it just so that, I didn't make it like a perfect match, but I made it, roughly on top of the torpedo, so you got the idea. I think it was rather clear. And then the footage cuts to the people standing in line, on the side a couple of times. And I thought, well, it doesn't make sense to have, Marcus and, all those other Star Trek characters on the side. So I thought, well, I do have these cutouts of these other characters, and maybe I could stick them in here, all of Spoony's friends or people that had showed up in the other videos. So that's when I decided to stick them in there. I could reuse all those cutouts I made for the other video. But then I kind of need to make them move a little bit or else they don't look right. And once I said that, I envisioned the second swell in the music that comes later in the song, where everything gets quiet again and then it explodes with, oh, because that's when I saw in my mind all the characters jumping up in celebration of little Oreo. And I actually, not this part. I mean, we'll get to it. But yeah, when they're all jumping up and down, I actually instantly teared up at the thought of all these little cutout characters jumping for joy to pay tribute to Oreo one last time. So like it was like kind of surprisingly emotional. I put those little barriers there, the caution, slippery when wet. I just thought that was funny. And the fact that at a funeral you have a sign that says you only live once. Yeah, I just thought, why would you put that there? Ultimately, it's actually there to cover up the fact that most of those characters don't have legs, right? So it would just, it would just be basic images, bouncing around. So I use it to kind of, to cover up the fact that I can't animate legs or, there are no legs. But, so yeah, it was emotional to actually put this together. I saw it in my own mind's eye to have all these little guys bouncing up and down, celebrating little Oreo, because, I mean, well, we didn't get to do it in real life, right? I mean, all we got was like a little Twitter message from Spoony that his dog had passed. And, like that was it. We didn't have a video on it. We didn't have, any kind of tribute, from Spoony himself. So I thought it was fitting to do this. Now, let's see. So let's just jump straight to the torpedo tube room shot. In this shot, there are 14 characters, and then there's, of course, the 2 caution signs. Most of the images didn't have legs, so that's why I used the signs to cover them up. And in the end credit sequence, I had 12 freeze frame character portraits, and I had made 3 additional ones that I didn't use. The GD Avatar, Angry Joe, and the Lord of Tekken version of Spoony, that you can see in the background with the green shirt. And then I created 2 more specifically for this trailer, Burton and the Iron Sheik. I had to put Iron Sheik in there, and obviously Burton deserved to be in there too. So that's 17 images altogether. Once I saw the film footage of people lined up along the torpedo track, I thought I could put, people that Spoony knew in there, bouncing up and down a little bit. Normally I would have thought that it was going to be too much work, but I quickly remembered that, I could take all the images from the characters from the end credit sequence. So I didn't need to create all of them from scratch. That probably would have been a lot, but the simple fact is that I had several of them already done. So all I had to do was like an additional 5. The 3 additional ones I told you about that I wasn't able to use. I didn't cut them out quite yet. And then the 2 more additional Burton and Iron Sheik, those I made special. So yeah, I only cut out like an additional 5 characters. It's really not that bad. It seems like it's a lot of work, but for a moving video, that might be a lot of work. But for stills, it's not so bad. Once you cut the person out, then you've got them and then you can move them around. So yeah, you got 17 characters bouncing around in here. I know Bennett White is in here. He might be toward the bottom. But anyway, let's continue playing. So they're just moving around slightly. I had April kind of zip out and then zip back. I wasn't trying to do too much fast movement. But yeah, so this is what took me a while. I mean, you're looking at I'm not editing it by hand, but I am doing it because, if I'm doing it hand animation, that means I'm basically moving every single frame, right? And that's not, I am using Premiere Pro. I'm not using After Effects. So this is all done in Premiere Pro, but, you can still set up specific points, and then, the program itself will actually fill in, the animation of zooming in and zooming out and bouncing around. But, so yeah, so I had to, I still had to put in the points manually. So every time they would jump up, or, land back down on the ground, I had to put those points in there. And at first it was a little fast. It was a little too fast. Like here we can see the guys, they're moving around. There's the headless with his chair. He's got that chair and he's going to bring it to the funeral of little Oreo. But, so yeah, let's actually take a look at this is going to be the first version that I did of all the characters, when the music swells up. So we're going to pause this other video here. And then we're going to look at, this is the original version. This is what I originally put together. And this is what took, like 10 hours to render out. And I thought, whatever it is, I'm just going to use it and it'll be fine. But then this is the animation that I got back. So you can see it's way too fast. I was basically, this is going to repeat a few times in the background. But, I spent, hours and, oh man, I was really thinking, what, I could probably get away with this. Like, this isn't too bad. And what I was doing is I don't know if it's per frame, like when you type the right arrow on the keyboard and it moves, one slot over. But I was basically like I was starting the animation. I was moving over it was like 3 button presses. So like 3 frames over. And then I was having a character jump in the air. So I would move them up and then I would let another 3 frames go by. And then I would, move them straight back down. And then I would move another 3 frames over. And this is what you get, like 3 frames is way too quick. I don't know if it's exactly 3 frames, but it's like 3 units of measurement, on the timeline. It was, the shortest amount of time that I could, manually move over like that. And it was just too quick. It was way too much. And the thing is that if all the characters were like that, maybe I would just say, forget it. We're just going to, release the video as is. But the real truth is that when you look at it and you look at it over and over again, you know what? There's only like about maybe 5 characters, like 5 characters that are moving a bit too erratic, right? So I spent like another 2, maybe 3 hours, deleting their original path and then like creating a whole new path. But now I was actually having them, start the animation. And then I was actually using like 8 frames before they would jump up in the air. Then they would jump up in the air. And then I would hold, for like another 8 frames. Or no, sometimes it would even it would be 10 frames on the ground. Then they would jump up and then I would have 8 frames. So like they would jump up and have kind of like a little bit of lightness to them. But then when they fall back down to the earth, they would fall down quicker. That's what I was trying to do. You don't want somebody to jump up at one speed and then it actually takes them longer to fall back down. So it was like little things like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I literally, quadrupled the amount of time it took for them to jump up and jump down. And sometimes I would have like 10 frames of just them just kind of bouncing around just a little bit on the ground. So I was much happier. Let's actually take a look at the newer version. And there's everybody. See, it's moving a lot more correctly. They look like they have weight to them. At first, I had like literally just everybody kind of moving around the screen. We're gonna look over that another time too. So see, yeah, this is more correct. This is a lot better, than what it was. I was much happier. And that's the kind of thing where, if you need to have an episode out by a certain time or by a certain day, because that's your schedule, you got to bite the bullet and you just got to release it, right? But it's like, well, I'm the only person here. This is just a little extra video. I already made the date for, January 24th, the anniversary itself for Noah Antwiler. Like, I already made the video for that and it was done. So it's like, take an extra, several hours, reanimate all that stuff, put it back in, because I wouldn't have been happy with if I released that original, where you saw all the jerkiness and moving across the screen. That was way too much. So I had to redo it. So let's look at the video one more time. So even though originally this started out as a 1 minute little trailer, I knew that the top 5 Counter Monkey episode video probably wasn't going to be seen that well. Not to mention the fact that I buried that 1 minute tribute trailer for the little doggy, 40 some minutes into that video, like 43 minutes into a 46-minute long video. So I knew not many people were going to be able to even see that. So I figured, let me just make a dedicated trailer and I can extend it and I can put all the little things in there and the little touches that I wanted to. It was going to take me a little bit more time, and I knew that, but it was like, well, I got the time. I got the big videos out. The big videos were out and they were done. So I just had to worry about these little trailers. But yeah, lo and behold, the Oreo Antwiler tribute trailer extended video itself took me 3 days to edit. And, then it took me like an extra day to render out everything. So, I mean, 3 days for a 3-minute trailer, that's actually quite a lot. Normally you would have YouTubers, they'll bang out a 3-minute trailer for this and for that. They'll do like 5 or maybe even 7 of them in one day, as long as they've got, relatively the video segments that they need in order to make it. So let's go ahead and start this video one last time. This time around, I actually went and found the original video where Oreo popped up. I went to the effort to find that, and I also wanted to know what year it was. And from the dialogue in the video itself, from what I could tell, Oreo should have been born in 2011. And I don't think Oreo would have been born before that, because I think at the that video came out like in August, and I think at the most he said that Oreo might have been like 8 months old. So I think 2011 is the birth year for Oreo. I don't think it could have been 2010. I really don't, because it was later in the year when Spoony got him. So, unless he was older than 8 months, give or take, that should be the actual date of when he was born. And look at this footage. This footage is great. It's him playing, and then he actually does look into the camera. Like, I couldn't believe, like, oh my gosh, I was going to take a screenshot of him, with his mouth open, but it's like, oh, this is perfect. He's actually looking into the camera. And I tried to sharpen that little piece of footage just a little bit, not too much sharpening, but just a little bit to make it a little bit clearer. Like, you could see his little doggy eyes. So, and I really like this. I don't know why Kirk is there, of course, but man, this really worked out great. Iron Sheik is there up front. James Rolfe, I should have moved him down a little bit. I think I moved the sign down to get like a little bit better look at some of the characters, but I forgot, hey, James Rolfe is really just he's only like a couple of inches and ahead, so I didn't have quite as much room for his character. But I just used existing characters. I didn't set out to have, the full-size characters. That would have been, something different. But yep, used a lot of Love Boat footage. I end up using that toward the end of the next video as well. That's a much better animation. The GD Avatar guy, he's going back and forth, but he's not jerking from. I really like Benzai in there with Angry Joe bobbing his head. That was just, And the sentiment of this was the fact that, I fired the little puppy into the Genesis planet, and if you know about the movie itself, he basically gets to, grow up all over again, right? That's the sentiment, is the fact that he gets to live out his entire doggy life, another 10 years on this tropical lush planet where he can, roam around and chase little bunnies and be friends with everything. But of course, if you actually know the movie, it's a little more depressing than that. Because, well, the Genesis planet in the movie, Star Trek 2, it doesn't work, and it's basically ends up destroying itself. And the other fact is that, well, yes, even though they fire Spock to the planet, he actually ages very rapidly to the exact same age that he was when he landed on the planet. So, yes, even though the idea is nice in sentiment that he gets to live out all of his doggy years, but ultimately he's basically just going to age very rapidly to be another 10-year-old puppy and be in the same predicament, within a matter of a few days. Even though, Spock did... Well, actually, the planet ended up destroying itself before Spock could get to the correct age, right? Like, I think he was still a teenager. So yeah, you could argue that I basically sent the puppy there to age rapidly and die, within a matter of like 3 or 4 days, however long, time passes. Actually, Spock could have been on that planet for a little bit of time, right? Because, like, I think they left, then they got interrupted by his father. So yeah, like, he could have been maybe there a week. Most likely, it was probably only like 4 or 5 days. But yeah, that was the sentiment. Not that I fired the little puppy onto the Genesis planet so that he could get old really, really fast, and then the planet would tear itself apart anyway. Like, no, I meant for the sentiment that he could live out, another 10 years in happiness, without having to be featured in videos and just, by himself and playing with bunnies. So, but yeah, that's the harsh reality. But, I kind of like the sentiment that, yeah, the little puppy made it there, and, he's safe and sound, and he's going to live out the rest of his days all over again. So here we go. Here's the Noah Antwiler super villain tribute trailer. This was a lot of fun creating. So as I had said before, I spent like probably a good 2 months, cutting out all the little clips and all the things I was going to use across all these videos of Noah's. And I had a lot of these little short little segments, ones like I noticed, like, as Noah was holding up a video game or holding up a movie, the box for it. I would take those and set them aside. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to use them on. And then there was a lot of other little audio clips that were funny, like, Final Fantasy VIII sucks and you suck for liking it. Little short things like that I didn't necessarily know exactly where it was going to go, but I figured, well, I couldn't necessarily put these in with the proper entries for the reviews for the top 25 videos of Noah Antwiler because there wasn't enough room. Even these short little things, I just didn't have room to sprinkle in all these things. And when I started doing the intros to a lot of these videos, I noticed that, well, I needed footage just in the background and I was talking. I didn't need to hear the audio clips from them. So I set those aside. And then I was able to pull all of that content for this video here. Here I could just, run wild with all these different quotes from Spoony. Like the thing with Curtis, I wanted to use that in the Phantasmagoria thing. I heard that Curtis, but I had to cut so much other stuff. I already had to cut like a minute of footage, from some of that. So this is my last hurrah. This is my last, all the different stuff. Like this moment of, I'd bust my second nut on those big, beautiful boobs. Space Mountain is my penis. I love that part, but I couldn't fit it into the review itself. Yeah. And I put some other stuff in there.
Space Mountain is my penis.
I mean, come on. How could you not have Space Mountain is my penis? I wanted to have it in the video, so, some of the stuff I knew I was purposely saving for this supervillain tribute trailer. That's actually from the outtakes of the Alone in the Dark review, I believe. You can see I'm doing the blurring effect there on some of it. So yeah, this was the last moment I wanted these cops to be speaking like this. Obviously it's from, the movie, but yeah, Bargo made his way. He was in a cut scene. I almost thought about having some assault rifle fire. This was originally where I was going to take the still of Angry Joe was right there, but I ended up moving on. This is where the Lord of Tekken version of Spoony, that moment, the moment he basically ejaculates, that is I'm sorry I said that in the audio commentary, but that is the exact moment I took the picture, and had that version of Spoony, bouncing around in the previous video. This stuff with Spoony, I had to bump it up like 15 decibels, and that was the highest I could bump it up. So I tried to have, the music go down a little bit. Obviously, some of this footage is from the, from that famous video of, Spoony making the Spoony movie. Yeah, like, see, I have the music go down a bit because that's as high as I could bump up the audio on that. How do you, butt F an entire series in 12 minutes? Always one of my favorite Spoony lines. I just couldn't throw it into, the other reviews and whatnot. It just didn't fit because, well, I believe that was from the Highlander 2 video and I didn't cover that one, right? So I couldn't use it as much. That's from the Star Trek Borg episode. So all my favorite stuff.
Just have the underage girl deep throat a banana.
I always love that line. Just have the underage girl deep throat a banana. I love it so much. So this is all the stuff that I was saving off to the side that I just couldn't use in any other context. Or I wanted you to hear the audio of Spoony actually talking. I set that stuff aside and I saved it for this video. And I extended this song. The song, I believe, was only like 3.5 minutes long, but I extended it to 5.5 minutes. So I actually extended the song, even though it's the instrumental version, right? It's the instrumental version of the song, but I extended it by 2 minutes just to get there's Son of Insano there. Turl, everybody was here. This is fun. Just Chef Ramsay. Oh man, this is the culmination of everything. I wanted to have like a little, tribute thing. Did I talk about the rock music? I know in the Let's Plays that Spoony talked about, liking classic rock and I believe 80s rock in particular, although some of it's from the 90s. So he actually made his own, what do you call it? He made his own music video with Dr. Insano using the supervillain soundtrack. So I figured he must like the song, so I'm using it here. This is one of my favorite. See, this is a very long and extended, joke just for the Thunderdome bit. And I wanted to use it. And I mean, that's the greatest moment of Red Brown is when he yells, "Our Father who art in heaven," and then jumps off a boat before it explodes. One of the best moments. I had to put it in somewhere, and it kind of fit here. It worked. And I came across that moment. I think that was from the Street Hunter review for Red Brown. But yeah, this is it. These are the 3 audio commentaries. You're listening to the last one here. This was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I know necessarily there's not a lot of views on these videos. Like this moment. This moment I think was from 13. It was either 13 or yeah, one of the later ones. I really like it, and it's like it wouldn't fit anywhere else. Darkest sketch, I had to have that in here, of course, as well. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun to put all this together, and I know, you know, my top 25 videos of Spoony is looking at, it's only like 1,200 views right now. You know, it's been a month or two, and you know, it is what it is. But you know, hopefully YouTube will pick these videos up and they'll start to show them to other people when they start looking for other Spoony stuff. So, but yeah, I wanted to thank you guys again for watching all this stuff. I don't know if I ever will go through with making a documentary on Spoony, you know, going into the backstory of stuff and looking at all those Twitter rants. I don't know if I have it in me. I don't know if I really want to go, you know, as they say, down that rabbit hole. Because it's going to be a depressing story, you know, watching Spoony basically lose his house, having his dog die. You know, I don't necessarily want to dive into that kind of stuff. And this is some footage from the Love Boat episode of Reb Brown. And it was perfect. You know, that little moment where he's drinking, because the whole song is about, you know, having a toast, you know, with that person. And this got claimed too, this little piece of music. But I mean, I love this little clip. It was so great. You know, it's, you know, obviously the blooper reel from Alone in the Dark. It was, you know, cut from the full thing. Originally, I was going to use this as the intro for Linkara, but it's like, well, he doesn't really say much here, and I don't know. But this is how I want to remember these guys. Yeah, Linkara doesn't have a real happy face on him, but the other guys look pretty good. But yeah, I remember that was from that blooper reel. You know, I always want to remember these guys like that, you know, being friends and palling around and reviewing, you know, Uwe Boll movies. So, will there ever be a third video in that series? No, there's not. But it's nice to think about that.
Now I know! And knowing makes it even more confusing.
Hey, Stryker, why do you sound just slightly different, but yet still stupid? Well, that's because this is actually an add-on for the audio commentary. Yes, some breaking news just happened, and so I decided to completely remove the last part of this audio commentary and add a few things. One of those things is that Spoony actually started to stream again on YouTube in May of 2022. That's right, just as I was going to try to finish rendering and release or start releasing these audio commentaries, he starts to stream again. And because of that and the way that he sounds, you know what? I decided to make some changes to my audio commentaries. I was maybe a little harsh on him than I needed to be. So I ended up changing a few things around, and it's all for the best. But check the chapters tab if you want to skip right to the Spoony stuff. But I do have a couple of things to mention first, and the fact that I was having trouble in the first place with all the audio commentaries, you know, rendering out, and that actually leads directly into when Spoony all of a sudden pops up. But first, let's mention the backgrounds. I forgot to mention the backgrounds in the other audio commentaries, so let's do that here. So I made two distinct backgrounds for use at the end of these Spoony videos. One is the purple gradient background that you see here, and the other is the Burton with a hex pattern background. So the purple gradient might look a little familiar. That's because it comes directly from the Spoony Experiment website. I know the exact color doesn't match in the image that I took because I took the snapshot further down the page. You know, the color is brighter the higher up on the web page that you go. But I did take a snapshot of the background, and then I repeated that image across the whole 1080p space. So yes, if that purple background seems a little familiar, that's because I did take it directly from the website. And the second background image of Burton with the hex pattern, this also shows up in several of my videos, and it also comes from the Spoony Experiment website. It was the featured image of Burton at the top of the page, or at least it was in 2017.
I'm not sure if it was necessarily before that. But I liked having some space around the image of Burton himself. But the original image is much wider than it is tall, so I needed it to fill a 1080p screen image. So I ended up duplicating the image on the top and bottom so that it would give me that same hex pattern all the way across the image. Then I used a duplication feature to make the hex pattern kind of line up across the whole image the best I could. I can't remember exactly the tool or what it's called, but it's basically the thing, where you plant a cursor and then you basically, airbrush a duplicate of that exact pattern. So I was kind of doing that, and I was trying to have it all line up because I thought the hex pattern was actually kind of cool. And, I tried to match that pattern up, the best I could across, all three little segments that I had. And I know it looks like Burton has a reflection on the bottom, but no, that's actually the blurry leftover from the duplicate version of him that I had on the bottom part. I just couldn't quite cover it up correctly. So I was trying to remove the bottom image of Burton down there, and to remove, the blur that's in there as well. But my computer ended up crashing every time I tried to make changes to this particular image file. So I just said, forget it. And I used what I had, and I had to keep going. But yeah, so it kind of looks like a reflection, but yeah, it really was just the fact that I was trying to, not mask, but I was trying to repeat the hex image over the Burton image, and try to like get them out of there. But it just ended up kind of a little bit blurry. I didn't quite get it, completely done, but I thought, this is okay. I was spending too much time on it, quite honestly, and I needed to move on. I don't know if many fans will notice these details, but I thought it was a nice little Easter egg, and I don't blame most people for not noticing it since, the website has been down since 2017. So I easily can see, someone not necessarily recognizing, this version of Burton or the purple background, but I wanted to evoke, kind of a remembrance of the website for those that had visited last, or maybe, kind of at least remembered it. All right, so the next thing is the fact that I had posted on my May update for the community tab about me having a hard time with the audio commentaries not rendering properly, and that's going to lead directly into when Mr. Antwiler started to do live wires again. For the last couple of weeks of April of 2022, I was recording all the audio commentaries for all 4 of these. They were all done. They were all edited. And then at the beginning of May, I was trying to render out the videos and, for the audio commentaries, and they just weren't working. They were crashing my computer every single time. I've had my computer crash a few times before. Mostly it's been big projects, kind of like this. And so for the next 14 or 16 days, all I was doing was trying to, make little changes and trying to render out the audio commentaries, and I couldn't get any of them to work. I think toward the end, I finally got one to complete, and I think that was like day 18 or something of it. So yeah, everything I was trying, it was crashing. It was crashing in the first few minutes. I was trying to replace the video footage because I thought maybe for some reason, taking, copy and pasting one video file from one project into another, I thought maybe like that was confusing, even though it shouldn't with Adobe Premiere. Whenever you copy and paste something, it gives you the original source, and it puts that in the library of your current project. So it shouldn't have been that, having them crash. 5 or 7 times a day, starting it, restarting it, going back in, like just trimming off a couple of milliseconds here and there, just so it wasn't the exact same file size, everything. It wasn't working. And then this leads directly into the fact that, Spoony started to stream again in a little bit later on in May of 2022. At first, it was a 12-second, almost like a test video, and for Twin Pines Mall. So it was a Back to the Future game, it seemed like. And then he quickly after that released a 16-minute version of that. I watched that all the way through. And then he actually did, I don't know if it was the same day, but he released another hour and a half stream. So it seemed like he was just kind of testing it at first. But, you know, he's got a new setup apparently, and he was seeing if he could stream using it, and everything seemed to be okay. He said hi to some of his fans, and you know what? He kind of sounded pretty good. And I'm thinking, you know what? There was some stuff that I said that I really should change in my audio commentaries. So that was the whole thing. You know, if you're wondering like, well, how does that affect your audio commentaries? It's like, well, I felt like I was a little too harsh on Spoony and some of the things that I said. One of the things that Spoony had said, you know, on Twitter during 2021 is that he didn't feel like streaming anymore. You know, he wasn't in a good enough mood to sit down and play a game in front of his fans anymore. And in my audio commentary, or I think it was for the first one, you know, I said that he's never going to return to making content the way he once did, you know, with scripted reviews and vlogs and new episodes of Black Hole of Board Games and Counter Monkeys. And I do still stand by that. But I said that he would probably do a few live wires here and there, perhaps. But you know, he seems like he's doing much better now. You know, and if he continues to be doing well, you know, he just had a break for, I mean, like, seriously, it's been just about 2 years since he did his last live wire on Death Stranding. You know, pretty close, but just shy of 2 full years. So he had a good break, and, you know, hopefully he's got, you know, a decent job now and a place to live where he doesn't need to worry about anything. But yeah, if he continues to be doing well, who knows what that could lead to. So it probably will just be new live wires for now. But my dialogue before had been much more kind of a grim outlook, really, for Spoony. So for my audio commentary number 1, which is the first one that you actually will see, I actually took out about 3 minutes of content when it came to my thoughts on Spoony. I didn't re-record anything. I just kind of cut it down quite severely. And there was another commentary I cut several minutes out toward the end. You know, Spoony was back to making videos after being gone for all this time, and he seemed happy. So I cut out some of the things that I said. I told myself that, you know, maybe it was a blessing that my audio commentaries weren't rendering properly for about 17 days straight. You know, I had said some things in there that I wouldn't have liked for him to hear, especially since Spoony was starting to stream again, and he was seemingly in good spirits. You know, it's not that I was overly mean in what I was saying, and I didn't call him names or anything, but it was dialogue that wasn't very helpful for him. So I decided just to cut it. You know, it's basically dialogue that if Spoony stopped ever making videos, you know, from that point on in his career, you know, that would be different. Whatever I said, it would have kind of made sense with that. You know, the fact that he was basically done and retired almost. You know, I said something along that lines, but it's like, you know what? He's back, you know, and he's doing some more recordings and he's feeling pretty good, it seems like. So he was thanking some of the people that were there in the stream and donating. So it's like, you know what? I kind of completely changed my whole more grim outlook. But that's basically what I had said. I had said things as if Spoony was never, ever going to make any kind of video again, aside from the sporadic live wire here and there. But you know what? He had just released like three live wires in a row, even though 2 of them were kind of a test. But it's like, you know what? He's got a setup now. He's doing more recording. So it's like, who am I to, you know, kick him when he's down? And that was like, well, that was one of the things that, you know, I said I didn't want to do, was that, you know, you don't kick a guy when he's down. And, you know, that's why I just completely, you know, changed it. And so, yeah, I'm actually looking more positive towards Spoony now as well. And you know what? The moment that I made those changes, the commentaries rendered out just fine. I am not kidding you. I spent a good 14 days trying different setups, changing different values, making alternate projects, all just to get these to work. And once I deleted my somewhat harsh tone, they were all rendering out just fine. Sometimes things work out for a reason, and I'm glad I made those changes. You know, we'll ultimately see what the future ends up holding for Spoony, but it's definitely looking a bit better.
So, that's great to hear for many fans. So that's going to do it for this commentary. This is the third commentary out of 4 total. So we have 1 more left. This is going to be the second commentary for the main video, the top 25 videos of Noah Antwiler. That's going to be called audio commentary number 2 for that particular video. And it's going to focus more on the technical aspects of making of all these videos, but there are still going to be a few Easter eggs that I'm going to point out along the way as well. So I tried to not make it, as dry as, talking about rendering out files, well, like I just did, and trying to finish the audio and trying to cut stuff. I tried to make it still a little bit entertaining, but yeah, the trouble I was having with before is I was trying to squeeze, all the technical know-how and explanations into a fun commentary that pointed out a bunch of Easter eggs because, when I have certain topics I needed to talk about, I was kind of missing a lot of the little fun things in the background. So, I ended up deciding to do just 2 separate audio commentaries for the first video. And it worked. It worked wonders, and I'm glad I decided to do it that way. I know it might seem excessive making all these audio commentaries for a group of videos that don't even have 1 million views yet, right? But I wanted to type out some topics and get all these details out about making these videos while they were still fresh in my head. Sure, I could have decided to do these audio commentaries a year from now, but I'd be a little fuzzy on how I created some things. I would probably lose a lot of the technical things that I did. So I figured, you know what, let me just do it now. And the reaction has been pretty positive on the videos themselves. So I think the audio commentaries are probably going to be pretty entertaining for those that, I've really been diving into all the 7 videos for the 15th anniversary for Noah Antwiler. But, this was a big project, my biggest so far, really, on the channel. I had a Word document that had over 40,000 words in it. And, yeah, that does include all the topics and stuff for the audio commentaries. It also includes me typing out the title for all the videos that I was going to use, along with release dates and stuff like that. So it does include all the background stuff, but, it also includes, obviously, all the cut content that I didn't have room for. But yeah, 40,000 words. I don't know exactly what some of the word count for college papers are today. I think I remember having one college paper that was maybe 1,000 words. For the most part, the teachers want you to kind of get to the point. So I think mostly it was page count. It was like 10 or 15 pages long and that was like some of the biggest college papers that I believe I had. But it was still, all double spaced, 1-inch margins all the way around. So when you get down to the actual words, there wasn't a whole lot. But yeah, think about that yourself. 40,000 words on all of these videos, including audio commentaries. But the audio commentaries, you could easily say that, them alone are about 2,000 or 3,000 words, just on my notes for those. So yeah, it was a pretty big project. And I also had a folder that had all the additional Spoony footage in it, and that had just over 120 additional videos. And that didn't include the main 25 entries, nor the Final Fantasy videos, nor the FMV Hell videos, and not even the Counter Monkey episodes, and not even any of the Let's Plays. All of those had their own separate dedicated folders. So I had 120 videos set aside in addition to all the other series. Altogether, I was easily pulling footage from around 200 plus videos of Spoony. Some footage I used in the other videos, some footage I didn't have room for, and some stuff may have been multiple versions of the same video. Just to give you an idea, this was 72 gigs of video alone. And once you start adding all the audio recordings that I did for these projects, that number easily jumps to 90 gigs of content altogether. That includes the 5 hours worth of audio commentaries. I knew I was already looking at about 86 gigs of recorded audio and all the other stuff. But then once I started to do 5 hours worth of audio commentaries, that number easily went, surpassed 90 gigs. So yeah, it was pretty big. But thank you once again for your support. The views keep trickling in, and the amount of positive feedback has been very gracious. People are enjoying the videos, they're enjoying the time I spent on them, and they're sharing their own stories of how Spoony, you know, changed their life, or he entertained them when they were at the lowest point in their life. So I'm very glad to be able to hear all that, and I'm glad to hear that Spoony, you know, actually touched quite a few people out there. This is the last audio commentary out of 4 that I actually recorded, but only because of the added material of Spoony, you know, popping up and making live wires once again, just at the end here. Even though I know I said this in another audio commentary, I lied. Well, no, I didn't lie. I didn't know that Spoony was going to start releasing videos again, but I had to mention it here, and I had to mention why the audio commentaries kind of started to get delayed and why it took me so long to do it. But hey, thank you so much, and you have one more audio commentary coming, and then that's going to basically put a close to all of the Spoony content, but I'm not going to mention him coming back at all in the 4th audio commentary. So just so that you know, yes, I know that he did, you know, some live wires, but it's not going to pop up in the next audio commentary because I recorded that before all this happened. But hey, like I've been saying in some of these videos, we'll see you on the next audio commentary. Thanks again.
There's really no middle ground with Reb Brown's acting, you know? He's either barely awake or screaming like a berserker!
White Ghost, come back. Come back, White Ghost.
Shit!
Hey there, Stryker again. Sorry, I can't quit you. Do you want even more audio commentaries delivered to you? I can't imagine why, but please click on another video. I got the other audio commentaries on screen right now. Plus, as always, in the bottom right of the corner is the entire playlist for the Spoony 15th anniversary celebration tribute thing that I did. So check out another audio commentary or click on the playlist to find the original videos that I made. Thank you for watching.